To the call tonight. Let me just make sure everybody can hear me. Um, okay, on YouTube, thanks for being on. If you can hear me okay, would you mind? Oh, I know what I haven't done. Let me just get my headphones on. That's the problem. I got an earpiece in. There you go. How's that? Is that a little better? Let me make sure I got headphones on. That's good. Can everybody hear me okay? It's a silent group. Let's see here. Let's see. Let's close this. Okay, that's great. Thanks, Leanne. I appreciate you. Um, all right, let's see here. Let's just drop this down here. I'm looking at my desktop. I'm going to share my desktop in just a bit. Won't be able to see that on YouTube. We're going to be working out some uh, technical things so that in the future we'll be able to do, on YouTube or when we're broadcasting, we'll be able to show desktop and all that. I have my son working on some of that stuff, so that'll be cool. So my suggestion is, if you're with us live on YouTube and you'd like to see the desktop when I get to that, then come on over to, you can go to the DestinationFreedom.org website, get the links to come into the GoToMeeting app, and then that way it'll be more interactive. You'll be able to ask questions, things like that. So anyway, that's some of the technical stuff. Glad you're on, and glad you're with me tonight. And I'm glad to be here and to be available to answer questions that you may have about state citizenship or the passport process. But before we get there, I want to just handle a subject that's popular these days, and how it relates to you or these processes and things like that. And that is about the selective service, and which is interesting because when I think of when they select the president of the United States, he's doing selective service too. He's selected, and he's serving someone else or what have you. So let me see. No, I'm not muted. Let's see here. So yeah, we've already established that I'm heard on the GoToMeeting. So if you're having audio problems, you might have to determine what your audio source is. And again, if for some reason you can't hear me, it's nothing from my end as far as I can tell. And you should mute yourself unless you're going to speak. So like Mark, you're not muted. So if you can speak, if your mic is working, then I'd be able to hear you. So. Oh yeah, sure. Is that Tony? Oh, you can do just like this. Once we get to some Q&A, you can just do like you do. Just open up your mic and ask like you're just doing now, okay? Or you can type it in the chat, and then I'll get to the questions later. So either I just request that there be no side talking, if you will, because it's really distracting because I'm trying to read stuff and all that. So just a little update on Destination Freedom before we get into the topic. It's there's a lot going on. Certainly with the office, we're into our new office, but we're not fully connected. They had completely cut out the Wi-Fi infrastructure. They ran some of the conduits, and the cable company that's serving us has got to run cables and then set up our internet. That should be happening. It was supposed to happen last week, but we were out of town. And so it's supposed to happen this week. I'll be looking forward to having high-speed internet at the office, and we'll have a new office number that'll be available. And then one of the things I'm excited about is we have a new assistant that's coming. She'll be here July 8th, and then we'll be ramping up a lot of and becoming very current with clients and things like that. So we've just it's just been challenging from the winter, from April all the way to today. is trying to get everything ramped up. I'm like, even now in this call, I'm at home, and so because the internet is better from here. So that's some of that coming on. I sent out 2 emails today, and the first one was announcing the live state citizenship class that's coming up July 6th, and we're excited about that. We have a number of people that are interested in being there. That will be a regular class. We're going to provide lunch. We'll start at 9 o'clock in the morning and go till probably about 5 o'clock, and then afterwards we'll be coming over to our place and doing a bonfire and all that, weather permitting, of course, and that'll be a lot of fun. So we'll have that all set up and ready to go, and hopefully, I mean, we'll be in the new office. That'll be cool. So it'll be a pleasure to be doing a live class from that venue on a Saturday, and hopefully that'll be successful. Let's see. So that's coming up on Saturday, and then that's the live class. And then I was trying to think of some other stuff here. We have some other classes that we're interested in doing. We're working on a live class in Montana. We have some people that are interested, and I think they're in the Livingston area. And so either we're going to do 2 classes in Montana, one being in Livingston, another one I think in Kalispell. We've got some people out there that would like to take the state citizenship class. So either we'll do 1 class in Montana, people will travel, or else we'll do 2 and work that out. So that I'm hoping to do this fall. That should be a lot of fun. And then hopefully we'll be doing a class in Hawaii like in January. Got some details coming for that, and so I'm looking forward to that as well. If you're interested in any of those things, you can go to the DestinationFreedom.org website. Underneath my picture, there's a link to the live class. I'll need a registration from you, and certainly payment if you're doing PayPal or something like that. We are going to do a passport workshop afterwards. It'll be like the next day. We'll do some breakfast or something, then we'll just get into the passport workshop. And it will still be available for people to do the full passport process. And I'll be working hard for that on that Sunday, that Monday. And if you stick around, I'll be able to take you to the post office locally where we go and where we've done that process a lot. And I can be with you during that as well. So it's a real good time to hang out and to fellowship and to get some of your work done personally. So that's available. If you are planning to come to New Hampshire and you need some information, the registration has the location on it. You can look up whatever living accommodations you want to do. That should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to meeting you and being together. So that'd be cool. We'll get into some of the Q&A after we start that we end up talking about this selective service stuff. Just gonna see if I can clean up my desktop and let's see. One of the things, let's see, I'm just gonna go to the what I'm gonna do is, and again, if you're on YouTube, I apologize. You can just kind of listen to some of the things that we're considering. The first thing that let me just open up my my desktop, and again, you can always come to, let's see, this is the one I want to do, and then there we go. So one of the things that I want to do is I want to share a letter. Let me see if how what it looks like. See, now I'm not recording. Well, it's okay. I'll just record this anyway. So let me just make sure that can do. Where am I? There it is. See, they move stuff around. Yeah. So the this is a letter that the Selective Service would send out. Now, generally speaking, these days, because the wars are so righteous, everybody's dying to participate in those atrocities. It's really bad, And just want you to see the big picture with respect to selective service and whatever's going on, and that is, this is what a banking collapse looks like in 2024. Okay, and so the idea is that it's okay. So yeah, so let me get to your, just hey, let me just present this, and I'll get into Q&A, Tony. So I'll just leave it out there. So I've just asked that you know that you everybody refrain from side talking if you can, because again it's distracting from I'm trying to catch everything here. So let me just get this over here. There we go. So but anyway, so the idea is that war is always a solution for the deep state, and how they deal with their world problems and things like that. It's always bad. It's never good. My belief is that if you have a righteous war, if it's truly a righteous war in which you're going to secure rights, or that you're going to do some good cause for humanity, you will never have to draft or even ask people to participate. They'll be there. Okay. And of course, if you're in the know, there's plenty of false flags that move people emotionally to participate and do things like that. The idea of a problem. Well, I don't remember what the word problem. Uh, they create the problem, and then they also create the solution, which is what they intend to do. There's a 3-step to that, but anyway, but you know what I'm talking about. So selective service just makes it very easy for them to locate people, and at least they know people who are volunteering to sign up. Of course, most of the time they're saying that this service is required by law. But let's take a look at that. This letter here that comes from Selective Service. This was to somebody that we know. It says federal law requires all males to be, that's kind of weird. All males, geez. This is what they're obviously not very progressive. I want to go to. I have also the Selective Service website, on the page here, and so whenever it goes into who needs to register, you can go into all this. Let me just see who needs to register. They have a thing down here. How about this one? This is a fun one. I'm a transgender, non-binary person. Am I required to register? Well, let's take a look at what the Selective Service says to that. It says Selective Service bases the registration requirement on gender assigned at birth. Oh, damn. Oh, man. How unfortunate is that? They're saying, hey, listen, we're looking for, people who are ballsy, So, if that's not you, then, or maybe if it is you, regardless of how you feel about it. But they're only looking for gender assigned at birth and not on gender identity or gender reassignment. That's astonishing. Holy smokes. That would be sad. Individuals who are born male and change their gender to female are still required to register. How unsexist is that? Individuals who are born female and change their gender to male are not required. Don't bother registering, because we're looking for the real deal. How sad is that? So anyway, so that's the nature of it is, there, and then they go on to some other sentiment. So that's kind of interesting. And again, who they say, what if I'm a U.S. Citizen living or visiting outside the U.S. When it's time to register? What they say is, if you're unable to access our website, register, you may visit the nearest embassy or consulate to get registered. So you can do that worldwide. They'll take you worldwide. So there's all kinds of things here that you can check out. One of the questions that and we'll look at some other things, because look, if you're looking at the website, it's less important that you're looking at the website and what they say about things. The only thing that you'd be interested in, especially in our circles, if you will, is what the statute and code says or requires. Okay. And we'll look at that in a little bit too. And so one of the questions that that came up was, has anyone actually ever been arrested for not signing up for selective service? Now it's interesting, and we'll look at some of these comments. Is back when they were doing the Affordable Care Act and they were requiring people to sign up for that. See, since I'm not a U.S. federal citizen or resident alien, it was not necessary for me to sign up because I didn't qualify to sign up for the benefits that they were offering. And so if you did qualify, were a U.S. federal citizen or resident alien, then if you didn't sign up, it would be a 99 or it was like a 90 or $99 penalty for that. Again, the consequence of selective services is going to be for U.S. citizens and resident aliens. Now, what's interesting is in this. Well, let's just take a look at what it says here. In this, under the now, this is not statute. This is just sentiment out there. What happens if you don't register for selective service? It says you can't get a government job, you can't get federal loans for school or housing. It only applies to males. They say, how sexist and unfair is that in this woke society? They say these days it's rarely prosecuted unless you are brazen about it and or cause the selective service some discomfort. For example, posting your refusal to register campaign on social media, it goes viral. A friend was self-described conscientious objector and refused to fill out selective service registration. He did not have any difficulty until he went around his 21st birthday. So there. That's typically what we read. But let's get back to the letter. That's what I want to show you, is what the letter says. It says, federal law requires all males to register with selective service system. Of course. I think, Ted, your mic is on. Okay, 1 second. Let me mute Ted. There we go. There. Oh, that's okay. We're going along with that. I agree with you, though. Okay, so federal law requires all males to register with selective service upon reaching their 18th birthday. As of this date, selective service has not received a reply to our previous correspondence advising you of this legal requirement. Now, of course, this individual may have signed up for different things and such as that, so somehow they're in the system. Of course, if they're paying taxes, that may be another way they show up. It says, you have not registered nor offered evidence that you are exempt from the registration requirements. Refusal to register is a federal crime punishable by a fine up to $250,000 and up to 5 years imprisonment, or both. If we do not hear from you within 10 days, we have no choice but to send your name to the Department of Justice with a request that you be prosecuted for a refusal to register. That's pretty harsh. However, our objective is to register you, not to have you prosecuted. It's not too late. Simply complete Section A of the closed registration status. If you believe you're not required to register, complete a Section B of the form and provide supporting evidence. How I would respond to that easily would be not a U.S. citizen. I would not go into defining the term, but I would just say I'm not a U.S. citizen nor resident alien. And I would provide them a certificate of foreign status, not being a federal citizen, just like what you would send to the IRS like we have. Remember, if you refuse to register, you may become, watch this, permanently ineligible for certain federal benefits such as job training, student financial aid, and government employment. You may also be ineligible for obtaining U.S. citizenship registration. Oh, U.S. citizenship. So see, they'll take a resident alien. Registration protects your eligibility. Please verify and, if necessary, correct all the information on the attached form, sign it, and return it to us in the closed envelope within 10 days. So save a stamp, go online. So I'm not going to show you the form there because I didn't clean that up there. But anyway, the idea is you're going to declare that you're not a U.S. citizen or resident alien, and the evidence you can provide could be your certified documents from the State Department that you're not a 14th Amendment federal citizen. The State Department defines U.S. citizen by the 14th Amendment. We know that. The IRS defines U.S. citizen by the 14th Amendment. Selective service is going to be congruent with those two agencies all day long. All right. So the idea is that if you are a citizen subject to the jurisdiction thereof, then of course you may be obligated to sign up for their wars. And we recommend that you stay out of that jurisdiction. Again, if you had a righteous cause, I'm sure that nobody would deny that. So for the record, okay, because listen, there's if you're looking at the statute, let's go back to the code. Here is if you go to Title 50, Chapter 49, Military Selective Service, you can see all of these different sections. Now, this is the statute that governs. Well, this title is actually military service. It's actually under this that you find the selective service system. I'm sorry, separation from service. That's not one. Selective service. Here we go. So this is 3809. So it goes on. You watch your terms, okay? And again, this is going to be for federal citizens, regardless of where they live, and resident aliens. And it's going to show up in the same fashion. Be careful if in some of these codes you see the word several states. You have to get the term state correct. The term in the tax code and other federal law for the word state is going to be the District of Columbia, Guam, one of the federal states. Okay, there are federal states, and not only that, some of the tax code that's specific to geographical locations and such as that, there are federal territories within the state, geographic locations within every state that is controlled by the federal government. Okay, those are also how the federal government defines a federal state, and there are federal states. So just if the federal government meant a particular state, they would list the states. Okay, so that's part of it. So again, remember, it's how the State Department and the IRS defines U.S. citizen. This is not going to be different. It's going to be congruent. So you can, and again, this is where you're going to see the statute that governs it. And one of the interesting things is when when I was talking about the consequences. Let me see if oh yeah, let me see eligibility. Oh yeah, so under eligibility, register for eligibility for benefits and programs, citizenship, federal jobs training, federal jobs. The penalty for failing to register, listen what it says. If required to register with selective service, failure to register is a felony punishable by a fine up to, we read this already, 250,000, 5 years in prison. Also, a person who knowingly counsels, aids, or abets another to fail to comply with the registration requirement is subject to the same penalties. And so if that looks like what I'm saying, so for the record, I want you to be clear that all U.S. citizens, regardless of where they live, and resident aliens have a requirement to sign up for selective service. But be careful and be clear about whether you are a U.S. 14th Amendment citizen or not. And by doing the passport process, you can get certified copies of your passport file signed by the Secretary of the United States acknowledging that you are not, or it's just establishing that you're not perjuring yourself and you're pushing off that 14th Amendment citizenship and that you're a citizen of your state by habitation and domicile. That's a state citizen, okay? They have no such obligation to sign up for, wars that are coming out of the District of Columbia, okay? But again, there's most of the time, I think it was back in like '86 that they were even dealing with somebody or prosecuting somebody for not signing up for selective service. Usually, it's just you don't get the bennies. If you're getting benefits and you have student loans that are federally backed and all that, you're signed up for these obligations. It could definitely affect you because you are in those systems and you're in those jurisdictions, and it's part of that. So you want to definitely be aware of that. That's why we recommend parents will make sure that their kids are instructed so that they know that when they come of age, they've done their passport process or they already have their passports, and they've already established that they're not federal citizens. So let's get into a little conversations about whether if you have questions about selective service stuff, then we'll digress and get into um, some of the questions about state citizenship and our passport process and all that. There was a question. Um, it says, "I'm new. I'm a new state national, okay, and owed child support. That's renewing my passport." They say, "Yeah, that whole child support thing is based in HUD, Housing and Urban Development. So the State Department's not going to address that, just like they don't want to address IRS related issues. You'd have to deal with IRS. In that situation, you're going to need to deal with the HUD, in your state, and see how they've defined you. And so this is it's challenging to overcome that. You have to deal with the state and determine whatever the amount is, or getting onto some sort of a payment arrangement so that they'll withdraw and allow you to travel. There are plenty of people that are in those systems and they have these obligations, and they beat feet to another country, and they're not looking to pay. And again, this is about the empowerment of the federal, the federal government and the state to be the father or the provider for the wife, or the former wife, or the woman, the baby mama, and those children. That's what the state wants, is to be the father, and they want to tax the male, and so that's part of those systems, and that's unfortunate. So anyway, any questions on the selective service stuff, so we can get into any of those particulars? Let me see. I don't think I see anything up on YouTube for that. No comments. So let me see here. Let me get none. No. Oh, here's a question. Yeah. If you live or reside in the U.S. Virgin Islands, can you do the passport process? Born in the U.S., now residing. No, you cannot. When you say reside, are you short-term residing? That's not a problem. But the idea is, if you're not a federal citizen and you're residing in a federal zone, that's where you live. Then, and again, you could be visiting, and you could establish your state citizenship, because that's the place you intend to return to. So if you have let me ask you this question: what is the kind of driver's license that you have? What state is it? Or do you have a driver's license from the Virgin Islands? I'm afraid you're a citizen in that federal enclave. You will not be able to establish your state citizenship. You'll have to come into one of the states, establish it, then you can, reside there. But you're going to be defined as a resident alien. You're alien. You may not be a federal citizen, but you're certainly residing in a federal territory. You will not be able to establish your state citizenship, because remember, it's about habitation and domicile. You're definitely going to want to change that if you want to come out of the federal zone. So, yeah, exclusive jurisdiction, correct. Yeah, no problem. We had, I think, one other time there was a guy living in D.C., and so we ended up just moving into Virginia in order to do the process. And that's all it takes, is just moving into a state. And I think he may have changed his driver's license over to the state. And then, you can reside in a certain place. And as long as the tax code will talk about how long you reside in a federal territory, where you'll create a tax liability for you. So even if you have a residence that you come in and out or whatever, you can't stay there long. You might even rent it out or something. But then again, if you're renting a house in the District of Columbia, you're receiving benefit from the District of Columbia. The District of Columbia is not a state. It's going to be handled exactly the way the tax code says so. It's just best to stay out of that cesspool. Find a better place anywhere else besides that jurisdiction. So that's one of those things. No questions on YouTube. Come on, you guys have some questions, right? About state citizenship or the passport process. Okay, can you comment on how payment process is different from yours? That's a good question. I just want to state for the record that I like Paymont, and We do talk, not frequently. He's a very busy guy, um, but we have discussed things, and there are many things that we agree with. Okay, but the thing about Paymon's process is he's dealing with uh, taxes. Okay, and so he believes that the income tax is unconstitutional. I don't. So he has all this energy, like he's in a taking a stand in a fight and all that. I'm in congruence with the tax code in who it's for and whatnot. There are people that don't agree with the state citizenship idea or whatever. We've just seen that we have done this process for so long, and it's been congruent with the way the federal government is behaving and acting. And so again, for Paymon, he's always expecting to be in court. We've had nobody in court, and um, we don't expect people to be dealing with the IRS tax court if you do things properly and you're not in federal jurisdiction with how you have things set up. If you have tax ID numbers or EINs and all that, you're doing business, a trader business in the District of Columbia. You got to come out of all that stuff. That's some of the first things that we do for people, and then we know how to navigate that. So we're typically not. We're very prepared for court, but we've had no clients dealing with IRS at all. I don't know that Paymon could say that he has no clients that have ever had to deal with IRS. So he has a kind of an energy that this is kind of like a stand, and it's unjust and all that stuff. I don't have that energy, or I tend to agree with IRS, because when you see these terms and you see who it's for, it makes a huge difference. And the thing about it is that I usually will say to people, it's less important that you believe that you don't have a tax liability. It's more important for you to understand who has a tax liability and why. And in that state citizenship class, I show you that the federal government has constitutional authority to create statutes and codes. They have exclusive legislative authority in all cases whatsoever in their jurisdiction. And they wield that. And they typically can bring it into the states by way of their federal citizens that are worldwide. Their federal citizens can be in every state. Not only that, but the states will tax and regulate those federal citizens as well. And so when you understand that the federal citizen, that's the 14th Amendment citizen, has these obligations to the District of Columbia, you understand how they're taxed and regulated. So taxes are not voluntary, but being a federal citizen, that is, and that's why we do a passport process for that. There was some good questions here. I want to just catch these questions. Hold on 1 minute. Let's see here. Let's just see what we can nail them out. Person, the question is, am I familiar with the case of Larkin Rose? I am familiar with that case, the 861 argument, Wesley Snipes. Yeah. I grew up doing theater work with Wesley Snipes back in Orlando. And we did some shows at Rollins College Theater there. I reached out to Larkin Rose at that time, saying to him that he was getting these terms incorrect, and he was hell bent on taking a stand, having his say in court with IRS, and of course that failed. The Browns used Larkin Rose's video, the 861 argument, in court to defend themselves. The prosecutor allowed that because just weeks before that, Larkin Rose was found guilty of tax evasion, and he and his wife, sad to say. And after Elaine had played that as her evidence on her behalf for the jury to see, which it was terrible, and it was very convoluted. And listen, I'm in this stuff and read this stuff in the tax code, and it was convoluted. If you don't get your terms correct with respect to the tax code, you will not understand the tax code. These are not everyday terms. The IRS, as we spend quite a bit of time in the state citizenship class, clearly defines their terms, and they mean what they say, and they say what they mean. And so I did reach out to Wesley Snipes' attorneys. He did not want my help back then, and because I thought I could help Wesley stay out of prison. That was also a failure. I've had a number of people and friends that I've known that were not doing what we were doing that ended up going to prison. Sad to say, it's sad. You know, people suffer, and but people make their choices of what they believe and things like that, and those things play out. Um, Anyway, so then it says, how do we find every piece of bad paperwork you have? You don't have to find every bad piece. That's why one of the things that we have in our explanatory statement in the passport process is a rescission of signatures, and it's very redundant and thorough. Listen, you can correct errors. Up until the time you submit your documents to the State Department, everything before then, I would assert that there's been a lot of errors, and that's all you're going to do is correct errors. You don't have to run and hurry to correct errors. You just correct them as you go along. There's usually that first year whenever you're getting your driver's license, you're going to update your voter registration. You're going to deal with if jury instruction comes along or jury duty comes along, you're going to always be compiling data about your situation, and it's going to be congruent with your passport process. You're going to have a lot of facts and evidence to support your claim. So you don't have to be perfect about. You just have to be thorough. But again, you know that you've done things in error. So when we deal with IRS, many times we tell them previous things were in error. That we even tell if you've already got a passport, we tell the State Department that we give them the old passport and say the previous application had errors on its application, and we're now correcting those errors. Question is, do foreign citizenships cause issues with this process in any way? No, someone can be a dual status citizen. It doesn't matter. You may qualify for citizenship in other countries. I recommend that if you qualify for citizenship in another country, that's always the best for you in your interest. There's a question that said, I started to renounce my citizenship a few years ago. That might be in an expatriation process. And completed interview 1 of the 2 interview process. I also filled out a form for that. Does this affect my ability to do your passport process effectively? I would say no, because you're not renouncing your birthright. If you're renouncing anything, if you're renouncing U.S. federal citizenship, then of course that's an expatriation process. You don't have an obligation to do such a thing with respect to your state citizenship, which is based in habitation and domicile. If you wanted to move out of your state and move into a different country or whatever and establish your habitation domicile there, that will eliminate your habitation domicile in the states. That doesn't change your birthright. If you're born in one of the states, that's your nationality. You will always be, like I'm always going to be a Pennsylvanian by birth, regardless of where my citizenship is. I happen to be a citizen of New Hampshire. I will always be a Pennsylvanian by birth. Person says, I have a foreign bank accounts, such as ones in Panama. Presumably, after doing the process, it's preferable to use a Panama account over a U.S. bank account. Well, again, if you trust bankers, I don't trust the U.S. bankers. So if Panama banking is for you, that's great. If that, but just remember that when you're in these foreign places and you're filling out documents and paperwork, many of these countries, maybe not Panama, have treaties with the federal government, and therefore they have obligations to ask certain questions. Their obligation to ask is not necessarily your obligation to provide information. All information from you is on a need-to-know basis, and listen, you always have a right to remain silent. Okay, so they don't always have an obligation to have you participate with them if things aren't filled out accordingly. And most of these jurisdictions would not know that there's 2 types of citizens, a statutory citizen and a citizen that's based in habitation and domicile. But again, the paperwork is going to matter. Most of the time, people will do these banking in foreign countries that don't have treaties with the U.S. because they have obligations. Because normally you wouldn't do those things if you didn't have an obligation, right? So let's say you didn't want to be a citizen of Thailand, okay? Would you hide your money in another place because you don't want the Thai government to come after you and all that, you would treat it a different way. You wouldn't even hide or sneak. You'd say, listen, I'm not Thai and I don't live or reside in Thailand. That's how you handle the U.S. or the federal government. I'm not a federal citizen. I don't reside in the District of Columbia. So that's how it is. And again, I'm always inviting people to live openly in the sense. Now I'm for privacy, but you don't have to run, hide, and sneak. That's people. That's evidence that you believe you have an obligation that you're trying to avoid. Okay, so it's a different energy when you understand who has the obligation and that you don't. Okay. Let me catch. I'll come back to here. There's a question. My passport app was denied by. Yep. Um, you sent a second explanatory statement. Yep. They rejected that too. Sure. Yeah, I need to look at that. I've seen some of that. There are remedies for that. I have to read their letter and see what it is. If we have to, we will escalate it. We can escalate that to a congressman's office. I've done that before. Depends on how rogue the the passport agency is. So I really can't determine that until I see that next rejection letter. I want to read what it says based on what we've already done, and then we'll have your congressman's office get involved because it's not necessary. But I do want to look at that, so I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. If you want to send the copy that maybe you already have to statecitizen@destinationfreedom.org, that would be great. Back to the question here. It says, do you think that as time goes on, crypto becomes more common, authorities will rely more and more on China analysis and other tools to follow your finances? So, listen, everybody that has obligations to their government will always endeavor to find out what's going on personally for them. That's how you control people, of course. But not all cryptocurrencies are the same. Listen, governments realize that they're losing central banking, so they may create their own fractional reserve cryptocurrency, of course, and it'll have no limit, so that they can always make up more of it. It's never an unlimited supply. That's how they devalue it. That's how they control. They're going to do that. They have no control over that. There's crypto. They will not be able to control Bitcoin. They're going to control on ramps, off ramps. They'll be able to control federal citizens. The bad thing about Bitcoin, as good as it is that it's very visible. Bitcoin's perfect for governments and for corporations because they usually have to be transparent, and Bitcoin will be very transparent with respect to those assets, because if you know whose wallet it is, then you can look up and see exactly how much Bitcoin they have. It's public. It's a decentralized platform. I'm talking Bitcoin, not any particular platform. So, but that's why we recommend Monero or Pirate Chain and all that for privacy. Those cryptos are more like cash. They're anonymous, and that's why a lot of people like them, and we recommend them. Person says, I don't want to spend any time interacting with the federal government. If possible, does the full passport process get you to do all my paperwork? We do all of your paperwork. We don't do your paperwork for you, in the sense that you will submit documents to the post office, and if the State Department responds to you, then we will write those responses and prepare that paperwork for you. But you always will do your stuff. We'll do the preparation for you, so you don't have to deal with it. The full passport process, we provide that support for you, and so that's how that goes. So we would prepare all those documents for you. Hopefully that answers that question. Someone says here, I always love the analogy of residency of a doctor training in temporary hospital trying to explain residence versus domicile. That's good. It's stated as a possessory considered non-custodial parent. Yeah, it'll be difficult for me to deal with your again, HUD, whatever it is, Housing and Urban Development, is going to, those statutes and codes are definitely going to be for federal citizens and resident aliens. And this is why a lot of times it's good to do these passport processes before people are into that. But if you're going to go back, you have to look and see where they got information about you. If you're not a federal citizen or a resident alien, then maybe if you do your driver's license first as a state citizen, then you'd have that documentation there, and then you'd continue redefining your voter registration and do some of that stuff with respect to who they determine you are. Because I assert that HUD is going to be for citizens, 14th Amendment citizens, and you may not, of course, be that. Yeah, go ahead. I don't know what ARR is. You're talking about the stamp? Can you hear me? I can. Are you talking about a revocation of election? So why are you sending a revocation of election to the Secretary of the United States? Yeah, they're not going to respond to anything to that. If you're going to do a passport process, one thing, the State Department will not answer your stuff. Or if you're looking, are you looking to be a non-citizen national or something like that from them? Yeah, if you weren't born in America Samoa or Swains Island, they will not give you anything with respect to non-citizen national. You're not a. Where were you born? So you're not a non-citizen national. See, you're getting information in which one, you don't understand it, and two, it's bad data. So whoever provided that for you doesn't understand what they're doing. You'll be wasting your time and it'll produce nothing for you. So sad to say we've seen that over the years. So um, but yeah, go ahead and check it out. So they'll write you back and tell you that you don't qualify for being um, marked as non-citizen national. That's only those that are born in America, Samoa, Swains Island. In the state citizenship class, we cover that, and I show you a letter from the State Department that says that. So that's not a remedy that's going to serve you. So sorry to say. Yeah. Um, so okay, and again, Tony, yeah, uploading. I'm not going to be able to look at those things in this kind of a venue. Sorry for that. Um, so was there anything else that you had on that? Was that Tony or was that who? I don't know who I was just speaking to, but anyway, I appreciate you. Yeah, it was Tony. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, does that answer your question? I hope it does. Okay. That there's a lot of remedies out there that people do a lot of paperwork and it produces nothing. They get nothing back. That's why when we do the passport process, we submit explanatory statement that says quite a bit. We get certified copies of our passport files, signed wedding signature by the Secretary of the United States. They're sealed. They're prepared for court. We tell them that we're preparing for court, and that's why that we're obtaining those documents. And so, that's what we get as facts or evidence to support what we've said for under penalty of perjury. Go ahead. Yeah, I would say that it'd be very easy for you to begin the password process, so you can get that, and then we would look at what you submitted and we would make those corrections or at least clarify them to your satisfaction. So hopefully that helps there. Um, Yeah, you can sign up for those processes on the website. Yes, correct. So sorry on in YouTube they can't hear this conversation. Again, that's why we invite you to come to the. You can just hear my response to it. Come to the go-to meeting. You'll be able to hear some of this and interact. So all right. Well, thanks Tony for that. Um, then someone says Finnish state versus citizenship class. Okay, that's cool. The next steps on the website. Okay, sorry about that. There. Uh, I appreciate your honesty, Mark. So, listen, the website that I have, I with my web developer created this thing, and it never had the nice finesse and design. I do have people that are preparing to revamp the whole website, make it look elegant, and that it can be smooth and all that. So that's coming, and so I apologize for that. But you can go and do the either the passport workshop that's up in class and registration, or you can go and under council assistance. Actually, there's a button underneath my picture that says full passport process. You can click on that, and that'll send you a page where you can sign up for the full passport process if that's what you want to do. So those are both there, and I apologize for that confusion. So yeah, and again, if you want to call, we can go on and direct you to the website. Once my assistant is in full place, she'll be able to give a lot of that system. But we're going to change the website so that it's smoother, so you can do 1, 2, 3 steps. That'll be cool. So it's long overdue, but it's been useful so far. All right. So any other questions or concerns? Roughly how long sending you guys a message until? How long from sending you guys a message? Oh, once if you're doing the full passport process and we have payment, your DS11, which is on that full passport process page, and your hold harmless agreement, then we'll prepare those documents. Usually we turn that around within a week, depending on our what's on our schedule for that week. And then once we'll do a passport review, we'll mail out your documents, and then you'll go to the post office. Usually expediting for the State Department's 4 to 6 weeks. That's about how long it takes us without having to expedite. Generally speaking, it's that amount of time. So that's how long it would take to get your passport. I didn't see, let's see, do I have another question? I don't see that question on YouTube. I don't see a question by Jamie Lynn. So I'm sorry, I don't see that. Someone says, doing my research study, is your process the same as Roger Stiles? I've heard people say there's similarities, but I haven't studied Roger Stiles, so I can't really tell you what the differences are in that. I don't know that he does a passport process, but this passport process we've done isn't something that I just invented. I've been doing this, and most of the way it's been is based because the State Department responds to different things, and we have amended and edited our explanatory statement, hammered by the State Department to be where it is today, based upon a lot of people's input into that. So that's why it's where it's at. So I really couldn't tell you whether it's been, maybe one of the clients knows those and knows what we've done, would be more familiar to answer the question. Once you have the passport process completed, what happens with the IRS? Nothing happens with the IRS. If you've done the passport or you submit your passport documents, you want to make sure that you're not employable. So if you want to contract with a company, do that. You may have other entanglements. You may have an LLC, other corporations. You may be doing things with an EIN or a TIN. Those all have to change. So that's all different for everybody. But there's no reaction from IRS once you do the State Department. The IRS doesn't usually step up for any of that. The only thing that involves the IRS and the State Department is if the IRS is alleging that you have $50,000 that's owed, then they may submit something in the State Department that would interrupt your passport process. Let's see. Jamie Lynn asked, I've done the passport process and the driver's license. In the last year, I've been getting multiple phone calls about tax debt collection. Is this a normal thing for citizens to go through? No, that's not normal. But it depends on if sometimes IRS will give out your data to third parties that will be offering stuff like that. That sometimes comes up. And then sometimes there's liens. If there's a lien somewhere, that's public record, and people will get these liens, and then there'll be people who will be going after those. I usually take those calls and say I don't qualify. I don't have a tax liability, not being a federal citizen, a U.S. citizen, nor resident alien. But no, I don't. I've never heard that that's a reaction to doing the process. Maybe she's a troll. No, I mean, maybe she is, but I don't know. What about using one of those rush pass? I don't recommend paying for the expediting because depending on your situation, it's not going to be expedited any faster than our process. And so, if you're going to do some back and forth, like imagine if the one guy that was talking about the Charlton Passport Agency, it's a second refusal that he's gotten, and so imagine, so the time's blown out. Usually get 90 days. So I would never pay for expediting unless if you're going to go to a passport agency, you're going to naturally pay to expedite there. That's the only time that I would really do that. When you complete the passport process, do you just send the IRS nothing, or is there some kind of notice to them? The only time you respond to IRS is if they write to you. You never lead and let the IRS, because that most of the IRS interaction with you at the beginning is just computer, and so it's just there may be triggers, what they call flags or whatever, coming from different places in which they're going to ask you, did you forget to file? And then they can escalate if you're still employed or if you're still doing something in which people are sending 1099s. You need to give the people that you're doing business with your proper W-8 and W-9, which we have that support for clients. So do you just stop filing? So yeah, so if you had no tax liability in a foreign country and you were not living there, you were not a citizen of that country, and you were erroneously filing, would you let them know, oh, geez, I've been erroneously filing? You just stop filing. If you don't have a tax liability and are not receiving benefits, you're not a U.S. citizen or resident alien, you don't have a filing requirement. That's why if when you take the class, you're going to see who has the obligation. You're going to know if that's you or not. But yeah, there'd be no need to file or give notice to IRS. If they write, then you'll respond. If they don't write, there's no need. It's really pretty uneventful, if that makes sense. Okay. All right. I think we've covered. I don't think I have any questions on YouTube. So this was, we got about an hour into this here. You had some great questions. I'm thankful for you. Hope we didn't step on any trolls or anything. That'd be bad, huh? So again, selective service, if you're not a U.S. federal citizen or a resident alien, you're not going to have these obligations, okay? And so, again, I'm not saying, listen, here's what I'm saying. All U.S. citizens, regardless of where they live, and resident aliens if they're 18 to 26, they have to sign up for selective service and support the deep state. If that's you and you're in the federal zone, you have to support the deep state in their wars. They need these young people to slaughter on their terrible causes and all that. But if you're not a federal citizen or a resident alien, you have no such obligation. And if you get one of these letters, we're glad to assist you in that. And we can write these responses. And it's going to be very similar to an IRS. Hey, when are you going to file? So you don't have to file this. You don't have to file that. You can file this or you can file that. You won't have that obligation. So not like a bad thing or like a bad thing. It says, one more information on your process. What would you recommend we review? Do that first. Typically, before you do these processes, I would highly recommend taking the state citizenship class. If you're doing the full passport process, that will be included. If you're doing the passport workshop, then it's required. So I would definitely start with that state citizenship class, get into that, and that'll give you a lot of background information and that you can enjoy and understand the concept better. War is not fun. That is absolutely true. So, yeah, it's actually quite disgusting. So, yeah, don't give me that. I mean, between the central banks, this is how the banks kill people and how they, make money on both sides of both parties. They have assets in those places. So central bankers are the scourge of the planet. So sad to say. I mean, happy to say that. Sad that they are. But okay. Hopefully next week we will be in the new location. We'll be doing things from then. Our technology is going to step up. We're going to create more of a studio look and have cameras, and we're going to figure out how to do YouTube so that you can see the desktop much better. So hopefully that'll do things better. The other thing is that we're going to match our YouTube channel onto BitChute as a backup. We want my my assistant Michael is working on that, so I'm thankful for him and for that as well. Okay. Passport process includes classes. Are those online or in New Hampshire? We probably won't be doing alignment processes in with the live class. There's a live state citizenship class, and we'll do a passport workshop live. But everything is on the website. There is the state citizenship class is on recorded and is on the website. You can watch it again and again, and then the supporting or alignment workshops, which deals with driver's license, voter registration, jury duty. We have a W8 and W9. If you're doing your own work, which you should be, those documents are for you to submit when someone asks for a social. And then we have a IRS 1445 class that deals with when you're going to buy or sell real estate and staying out of the federal zone in that capacity. All the classes are congruent to each other, especially if you're going to close out a 401k and they're asking for certain things. It's going to be the same sentiment for any time that you're going to deal with money and a corporation of sort. Insurance, they're going to fill out an application for that. You're going to handle these same things the same way all the time. So does that make sense? Okay. Thank you so much. And if you need, you can always buy an hour at a time online. Sign up for that. We can get you into my schedule, and I can give you that kind of support. Sometimes people they move out of corporations and such, and so they need a lot of support like that. We do make that available to people. We will be doing some changes when my new assistant arrives, and I'll be focused on some other areas of this work, and hopefully that's going to come about soon. It's been long in coming, where we're unplugging churches and such as that. We're going to see how that goes. All right. Well, thank you all. God bless you all. If you're on YouTube, you can like and subscribe. Appreciate that. And we're going to get you some more content. That'll be a lot of fun. Okay. And we'll talk to you soon. Let me let these guys go on YouTube.